So basically, we were talking since the early morning about the advantages of IoT. Everybody is going to IoT. How many devices are connected now, etc., etc., etc. But we didn't mention what are the key challenges of implementing IoT. We have lots of key challenges, and not all the challenges are related to technology. Most of the key challenges are related to what, other than technology? Security, it's related to technology. It's also related to human, to people. And now our resources. And now we are going to see how it is related in a very nice and funny way. So basically, one of the main unique challenges when we are implementing IoT is that IoT relied on microcontrollers. We are talking about really small devices. So those smart devices have limited memory and power. So we cannot include in those devices everything regarding high performance, high CPU, high storage, etc., etc., etc. So the key challenge here is that all those devices, all what they have to do is what? Is to send information to other devices, to other gateway or server or whatever, in order to analyze and secure those devices. So basically, if this device is one IoT device, it's not by itself secure. So basically, this device is sending information to another device in order to analyze it. In this way, we have the risk of hacking the small device or hacking all the information being transferred from this small device to the other device. The second main challenge, I guess we all facing it during our work, etc. We all have smartphones, right? On daily basis, what do we have? Updates for applications, software update. Now we have problems with iOS 11 every day, and then now we started with iOS 11 1.0, 1.1, 1.2, 1.3. Who has the latest update of iOS 11.1.3? I guess I don't know the number. 2? Okay, fine. So basically, imagine that you are here all expert in tech, and you are telling me that, let's say, 5 or 10% have only the latest update. So imagine, like we saw in one of our videos here, that people using IoT are children, are family member, mom and dad, and grandparents. Those people are not tech expert. So they won't be able to track all updates of all IoT to make sure that they all have the latest update in terms of technology, in terms of security, etc. So I will give you one funny example just to understand what I'm talking about. My mother, she's 70 years old. She's in Beirut and I live in Kuwait. So she wanted to tell me one time, I want those smart devices in order to track you on Facebook to know what you are doing, etc. So I brought her a smartphone and I told her how to if somebody add her on Facebook to accept him. So what happened is, after, like, let's say 2 or 3 months, I came back to Lebanon. She told me, I have like 4,000 friends on Facebook and I don't know any of them. I told her, how come, mom? I told you only to accept people adding you as friends on Facebook. She told me, yes, I go to notification. There is friends who send you friend requests, and below it, recommended friends. So she thought that she is accepting friends. She started adding all friends on Facebook. So actually, this is a funny story, but actually it will reflect a real fact where the main key factor when we are talking about IoT is people or the end user. And if we are going to talk, like you mentioned, about cybersecurity, the key issue in cybersecurity is what? Social engineering. Where if we have the best infrastructure and the best security and the best firewall and the best of everything, but one employee in our company or whatever who has, let's say, 1,000 or 2,000 employees who click on a phishing email or put a USB that has a certain virus or whatever, it can destroy our whole system. So this is really challenging. The third thing is that we have, when we are talking about IoT and big data, we can call them the perfect marriage. They are integrated together. Because IoT, they are sending too many data, and we agree that those data are stored in a certain database in somewhere, maybe over cloud or maybe over a local server or whatever. So basically, this amount of data, we have a sensitive data that is with greater risk of what? Identity theft, device manipulation, data misrepresentation, and so on. I will comment on one main thing in those four, which is data misrepresentation. Because most of the time, hackers, they don't intend just to steal your data or do a damage or whatever. Sometimes the damage is much more than expected, and it's much more than to being retrieved. Let me give you one example. We all have, let's say here, civil ID, right? So everything in, let's say, in Kuwait or in Lebanon or in Oman or whatever, every person has his own civil ID. And this civil ID is connected to his driving license, to his medical insurance, and so on, right? So what if one day a certain hacker went and he just changed in all those numbers only one number? Imagine, only one number. He didn't delete the database. He didn't delete anything. He didn't, I don't know, steal any data. He just did a mess in the whole system. Can you imagine what will be the result of such thing? One more thing is that IoT has the potential to provide huge amount of personal information. The key point here is that the information will stay forever. Let me give you an example when we are talking, for example, on social media. If I, let's say, post a tweet nowadays, and after, let's say, 2 minutes, I delete this tweet. Is this tweet actually deleted? We all know that it's not deleted. So all the information published online, posted online, will stay forever. We all know, for example, if we have, let's say, an old website and it's deleted, we go to web.archive.org, we can get back to any old websites from 10 or 15 or 20 years ago. So basically, when we are talking about IoT, all data being sent and received, it's stored somewhere and it will stay forever. So basically, based on this, we have the risk of abusing the use of this data. Sometimes we see in, let's say, Hollywood movies or whatever, that sometimes my name now is Roland Abi Najem. Tomorrow I can be Najib, Shakib, or whatever. They can change and manipulate all data and information. So the main issue here when we are talking about personal information, the first slide I mentioned all my personal accounts and data. And like Philip said that, for example, we have to post too many data online in order, for example, for search engine like Google or whatever, if somebody wants to search my name, Roland Abi Najem, in order to find all the results. So I'm present on LinkedIn, Facebook, Google+, etc., etc., etc. So let me give you one example. Nowadays, if you want to go to sign up to Facebook or Google or whatever, it will ask you for your first name, last name, and then gender. What are your options in gender? Male, female, and other. It's not only about male and female only. Now you have male and female and other. So imagine, for me, when I'm signing up to Google and or Facebook or whatever, I put, let's say, I am other. So this information went public. So imagine how this reputation can destroy anyone. Look, this one, he is from the other. He's not nor male or female. So it can be a really image disruption and reputation destroyed totally. Okay? So, and we all know that, for example, when we are using IoT, we go now let's say now we are in Sheraton Hotel. We are all using the internet here, or maybe let's say, who is using the wireless here in the hotel? Nobody is using the wireless? Okay. Sorry? Okay. Okay. So basically, if you go, let's say, to Starbucks or Caribou or whatever, any coffee shop, you will use the internet there. After using the internet, you will go and use your credit card. And after using your credit card, you go to, so basically, everything will identify who you are actually. Let me give you one example. If you go, let's say, if you are opening Facebook, and you open another tab, let's say booking.com, and you go to booking.com, and you search for a certain, let's say, hotel in Paris or whatever. And you don't purchase, you just search. Once you click close on booking.com or whatever, you go back to Facebook, what you will find? A certain ad telling you, only 3 days left to book this hotel, only 3 rooms left, come and book this hotel, now you can get it for 30% discount or whatever or whatever. They are identifying you based on your behavior, based on what you do online, and based on I will give you another funny example, but it's a real story. It happens that one day a certain girl went to a pharmacy and she purchased a pregnancy test and she paid using a credit card. This credit card happened to be for her mother, it's not her. So after like 8 or 9 months, they called the mother telling them, you should have delivered right now, so we have lots of product for babies, milk, etc., etc. But the mother didn't know that her daughter was pregnant because she's not already married. So imagine what could happen. So just to tell you that the abuse of using data, especially that those data will characteristic everyone and from you. I can know that your behavior is to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In order, like Philip said, once I acknowledge who you are, I can send you dedicated advertisement campaign or dedicated message based on your behavior. Okay? So, lots of risks. Now we are not talking about challenges, we are talking about risks. Number one risk when we are talking about IoT is DDoS attack, distributed denial of service attack. Why? Because let's say we already mentioned, based on Gartner or whatever, how many devices on daily basis are connected to the internet. So, and we mentioned already that those devices are not fully secured. So I cannot put firewall in front of my refrigerator or microwave or I don't know what. So they are not fully secure. And if you heard the news, let's say 1 week ago or 2 weeks ago, the biggest DDoS attack went to attack what? Baby cams and security cams for home. Okay? So DDoS attack is one of the biggest risks when we are talking about IoT. We have to understand the complexity and of vulnerabilities, how to manage those vulnerabilities, how to implement security protocols, security analytics capabilities, integrate hardware and software component, and the last but not least, bandwidth requirement. One of the people from Erido, when we started the conference, he mentions that previously you used to pay, let's say, in dollar, $100 for 10 meg. Now you pay $100 for 10 gig, and soon you will pay $100 for maybe 100 gig. So imagine nowadays I have a smart TV in my home. It's 55-inch Ultra HD, which means 4K HD times 4. So imagine the bandwidth I need in order to watch Netflix, etc. So how come nowadays I have at my place 4 laptops, 3 TV, 4 tablets, 5 smartphones, and me with my wife and my little kid. So imagine once we add more devices, how many bandwidths do we need in order to operate those devices? Now we will issue some problems and we will try to find what are the solutions. Basically, companies are concerned that when they connect their physical environment to the cloud or data center, it becomes risk of being accessible from the outside world. Okay? Lots of people say, okay, let's say, who use Google Drive or Dropbox or OneDrive here? At least one of them, raise your hand. Okay, we all use them. Okay, for the people using OneDrive or Google or Dropbox or whatever, where your data are stored? You know? It's somewhere on a certain server, on a certain country. Do you know who has access to those servers or data, who can see your files or no? Sorry? Sometimes. Okay, so basically, people will think that, for example, whenever I put my data over cloud, it's not secure anymore. They have valid reason. But the opposite is not correct, because people might think if I have my server under my desk in front of me, it means my data are safe and secure. Exactly. So basically, whenever any PC or server is connected to the internet, it's not secure anymore. Okay? And we can never talk about 100% security. But at least when we are talking about Facebook or Google or Microsoft or whatever, at least the security measures that they take are much better from protecting my personal PC or server under my desk. Okay? So I have another issue, which is a common practice is being seen within companies, that they are sending their sensor data directly to the cloud or data center. As we mentioned, for example, we have lots of companies like FireEye or whatever, they will tell you, we have zero-day attack, and we work based on virus behavior, etc. And this is good. But how can they analyze behavior? They will collect data, and they will send it to, let's say, FireEye Cloud, or Oracle Cloud, or Microsoft Cloud, or whatever cloud, in order to analyze those information, and they will tell you that we have a secure connection. Again, let's think something. Let's say if I want to send you now an email from my personal email to your personal email. This email will go to through the wireless of the hotel, through all the servers here, to the ISP, to a mobile operator, to whatever. So it has at least 15 to 20 spots that will pass through. And in any of those spots, anyone can detect this email, decrypt it, and get the information and the data from it. So basically, one of the solutions in order not to send everything to the cloud, in order to analyze your personal data, etc., is to have like kind of gateway inside your company in order to analyze those data and get the better result. Because whenever we are using internal network, it's at least better in security than using the internet. And when we are talking about internal network, it doesn't mean that internal, let's say, inside this room. I might have, let's say, for example, office in Paris and another office in London, but they are connected somehow through a fiber network. So it's kind of a local area network for me. It doesn't mean that we are using the internet to send data and communicate between the two departments. So basically, with so many and upcoming companies, we saw here lots of companies that are working with IoT and big data and cloud and so on. So how am I be able to choose which company to work with now and which company to work with in the future? And as we all know that IoT and big data, it's kind of new business. It's kind of people are joining now this new business, and we are expecting huge bandwidth and huge traffic and huge devices connected. So number one we have to take into consideration is business stability. If it is a startup company, it's highly not recommended to go with this company because business stability is really, really important. Another issue is IoT standards. There are lots of IoT standards that those companies should take into consideration in order for us as a company to go and deal with such company. Number three, hosting model. We have lots of hosting model between, let's say, having only, let's say, one data center or having multiple data centers across the world in order to have CDN to be protected from DDoS attack and so on and so on. Big data. Again, big data is the main keyword now when we are talking about new technology and IoT. Because again, all those information generated from every single device connected to the internet will be sent and will be organized in a certain big data. And again, big data, it doesn't mean only big storage. We are talking about big data that being analyzed in a certain way in order to get a certain report to be able to make decision and to enhance in certain company, my company, whether we are talking about financial decision or business decision or technology decision or whatever. And last but not least, the security issue. I need to be aware of what are the security measures that such companies take in order to prevent any type of data leak or whatever or whatever. So the main issue when we are talking about IoT, we all have in our companies the main problem between IT people and financial people. Financial people think about what is my main return on investment. I'm investing, let's say, $1 million on this project as IoT or whatever. What is my main return on investment? So basically, we have to put a real study and analysis of how am I going to deploy my service, network usage, rate plan, and resulting cost. In order, implementing one of the speakers mentions that I have to do between cost, time, and quality. He's actually right. But again, if I have to do it right, I have to pay for it. My cost will be total cost of full operation. It's, let's say, $1 million. What is my direct and indirect return on investment in order to proceed? So if we want to talk about IoT versus cloud properties, IoT is the real world. Why real world? Because we are seeing tangible products and service. While cloud, again, our data is somewhere over the cloud on a certain service or whatever. IoT, we are talking about small things, small devices connected to the internet. We are talking about cloud, we are talking about big servers, scalable servers, etc. IoT, we are talking about constrained devices with limited functionalities and features, while we are talking about big data and cloud unlimited capabilities. IoT, it's unreliable. Why? Because again, if you have the option to store your files on a USB or let's say external hard disk, which one do you prefer to store? USB or external hard disk? External hard disk. Why? Because the USB is only one chipset, everything is stored on it. While hard disk, it has more capabilities and more functionalities. Okay? The future of IoT is in those three areas: enterprise, home, and government. And mainly, it's more for enterprise. So for government, we heard a lot the concept of smart city and smart government, etc., which they are going to use lots of IoT in order to make the government and the city it's more smart. After all the challenges mentioned, we can say that the road is difficult, but future is bright. It doesn't mean that, okay, we have lots of challenges. It doesn't mean that we don't need to go and work in IoT. Yes, we need to do, but we have to take into consideration all the challenges mentioned. And again, back to the main challenges, we still have less than 8 minutes. So I will go quickly to the main challenge when talking about IoT, which is the cybersecurity. When we are talking about IT security, again, before starting, to be frank, we have to know that by time, it's getting worse and worse. Without saying that we are going to be fully protected, etc. No, things are going worse, and lots of government and lots of security entities are trying to find solutions for DDoS attack and ransomware, WannaCry, and so on and so on. But they are still in early stages. So main reason for those cyber attacks going so fast, as you mentioned, we have increasing numbers of devices connected to the internet, increasing diversity. We used to have, let's say, laptop, tablet, smartphone. Now we have microwave, whatever. Okay? And increasing connectivity, more users in one place, and this is really dangerous. Let me give you one example. If you notice, for example, there are a certain football game in a certain stadium where it fits 70 or 80,000 people. Those 80 or 70,000 people are connected at the same time to the same bridge, to the same bottleneck of any mobile operator or device or whatever. So this will create bottleneck for any operator or any ISP or whatever, so it will cause them problem. So in order to solve this problem, it's really challenging. I will try to conclude my presentation with this slide. Why is cybersecurity hard? Number one, there is a misconception for all people, which is cybersecurity is a pure technical issue. It means, for example, I have a security issue, I will bring a certain firewall and put it. Cybersecurity, we have a problem, okay, I brought a certain company from outside to do all security check and penetration tests, and then I'm fine. It's not the case. When we are talking about cybersecurity, it deals a lot with every decision making in the company, from the CEO till the very minor employee in the company. Why? Number one, we have to identify why do we need cybersecurity, and what type of data do we have, and what do we have to protect. Let's say, for example, I have a very sensitive data that cannot be stolen, and if it was exposed, it will be a big problem for me. I have to deal with those data in a certain way. I have another type of data. It's not that confidential, but I need to have it as backup as much as I can, because I cannot have to, let's say, lose those data, etc. If it was exposed, I have no problem. But I have a problem in losing such data. And so on and so on. So I have to identify what type of cybersecurity do I need for my information and for my company in order to identify the cost needed and the process needed in order to start. And one main thing that we always forget when we are talking about cybersecurity, again, back to the what? Human. If cybersecurity is not implemented with proper training, it's meaningless. And I'm not here talking about only training for IT people. For IT people and for end user. Okay, so this is number one. Number two, cyberspace is governed by a different set of rules. So basically, when we are talking about cybersecurity, if we have, let's say, technical measures, we have rules and regulation of each country, so we have lots of aspects when we are talking about cybersecurity. I have, who noticed, let's say 2 or 3 weeks ago, WhatsApp on a certain Friday went down for like 2 hours, right? Did you notice? Okay, so what was the reason? Facebook, which is the owner actually of WhatsApp, they didn't issue any single media press or whatever telling people what happened with them. And this one is one of the biggest mistakes any company can do. When dealing with cybersecurity, it's not about internal process. We need to have communication with the government. We need to have communication with the press. We need to have communication with our consumers and stakeholders and everyone that is connected to our servers in order to explain to them what really happened. Else, okay, maybe during this time of downtime of 2 hours, WhatsApp was hacked and they stole all their data there. Nobody knows. And number three, cybersecurity is new and we are all still learning. So every now and then, every day, we have a new concept when we are talking about cybersecurity, new ways of attack, and we all know that, for example, when we are talking about, let's say, antivirus, hey, antivirus, okay, I have antivirus on my device. Whenever there is a new virus, they will create a new signature. Once I update my antivirus, I will be protected. But actually, there is a big gap between when they issue the virus and till when I'm protected. And we all know that everybody who works on cybersecurity, they will say, you are either hacked and you know, or you are either hacked and you don't know. But in both cases, you are already hacked. So you have to take some, let's say, security measures in order to protect yourself. For sure, we won't reach the 100%. It will never happen. But it doesn't mean that we shouldn't be better than we were yesterday, and tomorrow should be better than we are today. Again, I will leave you with this thought, and thanks a lot. If there is any question, I'm ready. Any question, any concern? Thanks a lot.